welcome to this talk today. Today's talk will be around a really popular question that I often get asked by young people and by adults as well, and that's what is the difference between meditation and mindfulness? So often we sit down to have a chat and we realise that maybe a lot of people aren't very sure what the difference between mindfulness and meditation is, or they both seem very tied up together. And mindfulness is a really popular kind of in thing at the moment, and often gets used as a bit of a buzzword and used in a lot of different contexts. So I think it's kind of nice to break it down, and then we know what we're talking about when we talk about the difference between meditation and mindfulness. So we spoke in our last video about what meditation is, and that's sitting still for a period of time and focusing on something. So we know what meditation is, and the difference between meditation and mindfulness is that mindfulness is a way of living as opposed to a specific action. So we can define mindfulness as the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are, what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. So it might seem really simple, this idea of being in the present moment, but the annoying fact is that our mind so often pulls us either into the future, we're thinking about something that will happen later today, further in the future than that, or we get pulled into the past. We're reminiscing about things that are happening, we're rethinking over things that have happened that are bad, that are good, all sorts of things. So very rarely do we actually find ourselves in this present moment where we're not actually thinking about the future or the past. And it's mindfulness really is the quality of being present and fully engaged with whatever we're doing in the moment. So free from distraction and judgments, and that allows us to be aware of our thoughts and our feelings, and allows us maybe to be a little bit less caught up in them. So when we realize that we're possibly catastrophizing about the future, so sometimes we sit down and we think about the worst possible scenarios of things that can happen in the future. This is kind of called catastrophizing, and or we do the same in a different way about the past as well. We think about things, we reminisce, we possibly feel sad, or this is the more negative side of living not in the present moment, but that is what happens. And we're able to maybe be a little bit more aware of the fact that those things aren't happening to us right now. So actually the stuff that's happening in the future, we can't change. There's nothing we can do about it right now. The stuff that happens in the past has already happened, and we don't really have a great ability to change that either. So basically, we can train in this moment-to-moment awareness by meditating. So mindfulness in itself is a way of life and a way of living and being present in the activities that you do in your day. And so how do we get better at doing that? And the way to get better at doing that is through meditation. So we build the skill of mindfulness so we can apply it to everyday life. So we can be in the present and maybe be a bit less beholden to reactive thoughts and feelings. Mindfulness doesn't eradicate the stress or difficulties of life. It definitely doesn't do that, but it does allow us to become aware of our thoughts and emotions and maybe choose how to handle them. So if we have a little bit more awareness and we're a little bit more in the moment, we might be a little bit less reactive, and we might be able to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more empathetic. And when we're faced with stress or challenges, we might find ourselves more capable of finding ourselves in the present moment. So that is the practice of meditating. That's what brings us into getting better at being mindful. So when we practice that awareness, where we're pulling our attention back from our thoughts and we pull them back to our breath, which is something that's happening in the present moment, we're kind of strengthening our ability to be mindful. We get better at being mindful by meditating, because it's really just a practice. Our meditation is a practice of coming back to the present, and mindfulness is also a way of living in the present. So we can see meditation as the tool to help us be more mindful, to live in the moment more. So our mind often has that tendency to live in the future or the past, And what we find is that we're often kind of blasting through the present moment. So often we're waiting for the weekend or our holiday, or to get a year older, or for something that we're working towards, and we find ourselves not actually appreciating what is happening in the present moment. And it's really important to say as well that the present moment isn't always a great place to be. So I can of course say that, if you're on a lovely, peaceful walk outside, or if you're having fun with your friends, be present in that moment, and that's really good, that's really, really fun. You're going to maybe benefit more from that moment. But at the same time, we can have really difficult times in our lives, really bad times when being in the present moment is actually a lot harder than that. And basically we find that the conditions for doing that can actually make that more difficult time a little bit easier. So by being with the present moment, the thing that isn't particularly great to be in, we cultivate our ability to be with our emotions, and our ability to possibly realize that we can still be okay in the midst of other stuff happening around us. So it can sound like quite a large concept, but in itself, mindfulness is something that we already have. All of us already have mindfulness. There are moments in our lives when we already feel like we're very much in the present. It's not something that we need to change ourselves by doing. It's possibly just something we need to do a little bit more, be a little bit more aware of. And this can allow us to make some of the issues that we have, if we ever have any issues with stress or anxiety, mindfulness is a really powerful tool that we can use, because with stress and with anxiety, often we're stuck in the future, thinking about things, catastrophizing about things, how it feels when you're sitting waiting for a test or an exam, and you have a lot of fear inside of your body, and you have a lot of, you're very nervous, and you are usually thinking about all the bad things that are going to happen. The exam's going to go bad, you're going to fail, your parents are going to be mad, some kind of idea around this. And then we come back to the idea that actually you're just standing outside of the hall. You're just standing there, breathing. Nothing bad is happening to you in that moment, nothing dangerous. You simply have the ability to be in that moment. And if you stop kind of living in that idea of the future, you can allow yourself to maybe take a little bit more control over stress and over anxiety. So it can be a really powerful tool when we're dealing with difficult emotions as well. So I think that kind of concludes our talk for today. So we know now that meditation is the process of getting better at mindfulness. So when we meditate, when we sit down, we're quiet and we focus, and we take our attention back every time that it wanders. Therefore, we become more mindful. So you'll see that meditations are often called mindfulness meditations, or some meditations are just called meditations. And to kind of take away the confusion of that area, all meditation really does bring about the ability to be more mindful. So we're really just cultivating that ability. So I hope that that's helped, and if there were any further questions about this, please drop them in the comments box below. It's a huge topic, mindfulness, and we've really just touched on the surface of that, and in the future we'll talk a little bit more about techniques, ways of looking at it that can really help. But I first just wanted to kind of take away any myths or anything around mindfulness, so we're kind of clear about what we were talking about. Okay, wonderful. I hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you again in our next video.